Welcome to the Sales Queen podcast, where we teach women how to turn their skills into sales and monetize their message so they can finally sell with the clarity, confidence, and certainty that they've always wanted to. No longer does the game of sales need to be an old boys club. It's time for you to sell like a queen. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Sales Queen podcast. I'm super excited to have my longtime Facebook friend, now real life friend, Jeff Hunter here. Jeff is a successful entrepreneur and former Fortune 500 IT project manager with a passion for helping businesses achieve success by leveraging AI and building remote teams. He also crushes it at helping people build their brands. So thank you so much, Jeff, for being on the podcast today.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's funny because you might say, why would someone with project management experience know anything or can add any value to people with sales? Well, actually, that's exactly the problem, is that I went from the project management world to an entrepreneur and found out I knew nothing about sales. So I had to learn the school of hard knocks. And I wish I would have known you back then. I'll tell you that.
Well, we definitely need each other. Like you and I were talking about before, salespeople are usually really bad at everything else because we don't like to slow down enough to actually do any of the things that you're probably really good at. So I'd love to kind of start off with you telling our audience a little bit more about who you are and how you got into entrepreneurship, branding, all these different things, whatever part of your story that you want to start with that you think is relevant towards becoming the expert that you are today.
Yeah, well, as a project manager, we didn't have to sell anything. Everything was sold, and then we had to turn whatever purple dinosaur that they sold into the green one that's actually the reality, right? And so I had to learn the hard way that, you know, sales, I always demonize sales teams, actually. I used to always demonize sales because I was like, oh man, they sold all this stuff and it's not going to work. And, I was an IT project manager. So if they bought the wrong connector, or they didn't buy the right thing, the project would fall apart. And I kind of had a distaste, or at least a little disdain for salespeople. And one day I also just was tired of watching the salespeople go in, make a bunch of money, and then leave. They never had to do anything after they sold it. And I was like, man, they're getting paid more than me and they don't have to do the work. I always thought that salespeople didn't do work. I didn't realize the amount that goes into building the relationship, the amount that goes into building the trust that's required to make the sale. I didn't understand the importance of building the brand that people actually enjoy doing business with. The very first time I had ever gone with the sales team to go do something was to a restaurant in Alaska, where we had actually a meeting with the client, and I just saw the magic happen, and I was like, wow, I just had no clue what salespeople have to deal with in building those relationships. And I had a huge reality check, like I was saying earlier, when I left that business to start my own virtual staffing agency. That's what VA Staffer is a virtual assistant company in the Philippines. I didn't know anything about sales. I didn't know anything about branding, and pretty much fell pretty flat on my face, going from $150,000 a year salary to basically making $50,000 and then costing, $150,000. So I was losing money my first year, right? Like most people do in business. So I had a quick course. I actually ended up hiring someone to help me build my personal brand, position myself in the market, and turned out the guy was a huge scam artist. And I just, all I did was waste money, and flew out to Idaho to meet the guy. He was like in the ClickFunnels mastermind and this and that. So I thought he was a big shot. I was this low level entrepreneur, just left my job, and he promised he was going to help me build my brand, put together a pitch deck to become featured in publications, to build my authority. He was going to help me put together my brand site, what it would look like, help me come up with my different stories that I needed to, get people to understand and like me. But it all came crashing down. And the only thing that I left there was empty pockets. That's the only thing I left with. Wow. So, and that was back in the day, $5,000. And that was like, oh man, like that was a lot of money. I didn't have that money. I had to use a credit card.
Yeah.
So when I found out that it was a huge sham, I was like, man, that's not how to do business. As a project manager, I know that I always over deliver on what people want from me. So I had the list of things that he said he was going to do. So at least I had the blueprint on what needed to be done, even though he didn't do it. And I just worked really hard in 2016 and 2017 to figure out how could I actually do this myself and figure this out, because I had no money. I couldn't hire anybody else. So I just
Mm,
really went to town figuring out how to do it for myself. By 2018, I was already faculty at digitalmarketer.com. I had been speaking on 3 stages, over 100 podcasts, an author of a book. Uh, I've been have had articles written about me on Business Insider, Entrepreneur. Now I'm a contributor. I have a column in Entrepreneur where I talk about virtual teams and personal branding. And it's always been for me a story of leverage. And as a project manager, I was kind of overworked, and I found out I could hire people to do things for me virtually back before virtual teams were cool.
yeah.
And now that's what I do. I have a team of over 150 virtual assistants, mostly in the Philippines. And now with AI, leveraging has never been easier.
Yeah. That is absolutely wild. So you said, so 2018, was that kind of the year that things started to change for you? Or how did you go from being somebody that had to put 5 grand in a credit card? And obviously you're experiencing this disappointment of like the learned skills of leading yourself, being an entrepreneur, and then like most of us, you give 5 grand to somebody. I have the exact same story, by the way. And you're like, oh, great, you're a scam artist. Like, what did you do to get from that place to ultimately attaching yourself to the train like digital marketer, which takes some kind of influence for them to know, like, and trust you, right? And then ultimately, 5 years later, being here today.
Crazy enough, it was the best $5,000 I ever lost.
Hmm.
I am motivated very much by, one of the strongest emotions ever is revenge.
Hmm.
And at the time, he had blocked me and refused to see my emails, and he wouldn't give me a refund and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to ruin this guy. And I actually built my company out of spite. And,
Wow.
looking back, not a proud moment, but I will have to tell you, it motivated me in a way that I've never been motivated before in my life.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it's the same thing with sales. It's the same thing with expectations. Like if you see, like hardly anybody will leave a positive review, but better believe as soon as somebody does you wrong, you're going to write that negative review, right?
Hmm.
So, like for me, I made a promise to myself. I'm like, you know what? I'm always going to set expectations kind of low, and I'm always just going to like over deliver. That way, everybody's delightfully surprised, because I never want to have anyone think of me the same way that I thought about this person. But
Yep.
that transitional aha moment that you're asking about, you ready for it?
Yep. Ready.
Just so happens to be a year and a half later, that person was going to be speaking at digitalmarketer.com stage. And I reached out to some of the leadership over there and I said, hey, is this person speaking on stage? This guy's a scam artist and he scammed me and all my friends of tens of thousands of dollars. I actually had a little crew of people that this person ripped off.
Oh
And they,
my gosh.
yeah, and they said, no way. They're like, do you have any evidence or proof? I'm like, sure. I sent them all the names of people that the person screwed over, and they had a very similar story to mine. And the crazy part was the person had the best testimonials from Russell Brunson, Frank Kern, like huge testimonials. And I was like, how can someone with such good testimonials do such a bad job? And turned out that, what I said was true. And they banned him from speaking on stage at their events again. As a matter of fact, I still have emails and messages from him on different platforms that I've never read. But on Facebook, when someone sends you a message, if you can scroll down and kind of see it without opening the message,
Yeah.
it's all the same message. Hey man, I'm sorry. I've grown. I've learned a lot of things. Like, really, or do you just want to speak on all the stages now?
Mm.
Um, so anyway, I did get my revenge, and it kind of catapulted me into an interesting part, because Digital Marketer actually asked me to come down and work on their speaker vetting committee and come up with the new rules for the speakers. So not only,
Wow.
yeah, not only so, and at that time, by the way, I was not faculty. I did not know anything about Digital Marketer, except I went through their programs and I learned a lot from them, and I looked up to the founders like Ryan Dice and those guys, Roland Frazier and stuff. And I was like, man, this is such a great crowd. So when they invited me to come to their office, I just learned more about them and I told them what I'm about. And they were like, wow, you have a very good culture fit. And they graced me with the stage, a very small stage, about 40, 50 people. And I knew that I had to really show up and put out. So I did. And they were like, wow, that was really great. We'd like to bring you on board as faculty. And I have been ever since. So,
Wow.
like I said, it was the worst and best $5,000 I've ever lost.
Wow. So is that how you came up with the word savage for like savage marketer? Was that the inspiration, or how did you end up on that brand situation? And how did you grow such a great brand today? Because I love the lighting, I love the hats, love the background, all of that. Obviously, you get brand now. So how did that happen?
Well, it goes back to your previous question, how. It's not how, it's who. Okay?
Okay.
That's the answer I've learned. It's not how, it's who. Who could
Yep.
help me? Who could put me in? Who is better at things than me that could really help me? And who's already been established and knows the right people? And I found that the best way to do that is just to pay people, just pay experts to just come into your business and do things, legitimate ones that you can research. And by the way, here's some advice to somebody who's ever
Yeah.
been scammed. Okay. By the way, the reason I got invited to Digital Marketer isn't because I was a complainer. It was because I wrote an interesting email post, or I wrote a post on Facebook about what I should have done to avoid this. One, I should have used a credit card instead of an ATM card to pay the guy. Because a credit card, I could have went to the credit card company and got that money back. ATM uses cash, you cannot get your money back. Okay.
Yep. Great.
Unless it's an intentional fraud. If it's a dispute over the quality, you're done. Okay. So number two is I should have documented in email writing what the expectations were and the deadlines were so that I could show that he breached the contract. I did not do that. And thirdly, I wrote an actual template. Here's the email that I should have sent out after he didn't deliver on time.
Hmm.
Then I would have had a documented trail to present and say, look, this person didn't deliver. And I could have at least had a better case to win if the person screwed me over.
Yeah.
And Digital Marketer was like, man, that was that was really valuable. Thank you so much. Like that was really great. We'd like to bring you in. So who is someone who could really help me? Well, this is when things got interesting. I just started saying, who are the people that are really good at things? You brought up my brand here. I got the for those of you that are just listening, I'm going to describe to you. I have this giant wooden mural that was hand painted that says, you can be average or you can be a savage marketer. And then on my other wall, I have all these hats of different things that I've been involved with. Some of them are my brands, some of them are brands I've helped build for other people. So all these hats have a story. And because I'm an entrepreneur, one thing we know about entrepreneurs, especially bald ones like me, is that we wear a lot of hats.
I
So that's
love
my
that.
own personal brand, is that I wear a lot of hats. I'm a marketer. I'm a project manager, right? We're all salespeople, every single one of us, and every single person in a company is a salesperson. Your customer service is sales, everybody's sales, right? Um, so that's part of my brand. And the person who helped me put this together, his name's Ken Okazaki. Ken Okazaki, I don't know what I'm allowed to say about him, but he's worked for some really big brands, huge people, right? Without saying the name, I'm just going to say he's been video production guy for the biggest person in the coaching space, who happens to have like a huge program people know about for like walking on fire. Put that out there.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it. I wonder who that
You
could
got
be.
that? All right. So so he already is a pro at setting up video studios and stuff. I said, "Hey man, I would love to work with you and build out something cool like what you've done for these people and yourself." And he was like, "Oh man, the crazy part is he did it for free. I was going to pay
Wow.
him. But you know
Wow.
what? He said, "Hey, don't worry. I'm going to send you this whole list of equipment to buy with my Amazon link, so I'm going to get paid." I'm like, "All right, cool." Right? So $10,000 worth of equipment, the cameras here, I got multiple camera angles. I got stuff you can't even see over here, like the lighting that's on me, like the
Yep.
planning. He even drew a diagram of what my desk would look like from the top view and what each of the camera views would look like behind me. Like he was so cool. Ken, love you. Shout out big time. So
I love
there's that.
that.
So again, not what, but who, right? And in his case, he did both. He told me what to buy, and he's obviously the person who knew how to do it. But the second piece is savage marketer. You asked, how did I create this savage marketer brand? I did not. It's another who. It's another who. One of my clients, and I've never really told the story publicly, so there it is. But I'm going to do a shout out to Dan Henry. So
Yeah.
Dan Henry, which is by the way one of the reasons that we connected, Megan. Um, so
Yeah,
Dan
for sure.
Henry owned this brand, and he launched something called the Savage Marketing Academy, which is the shirt that I'm wearing. And the Savage Marketing Academy, it was an interesting offer. It was a $1 free trial for 7 days, and then it was a $297 a month recurring. Well, he found out very quickly within the first couple months that the offer sucked. The offer was good, don't get me wrong. The pricing was wrong because it attracted a lot of cheapos that were buying the $1 7 day trial and then they were canceling at the end. And at
Yep.
the time, he was a client of mine, and we had a virtual assistant that was handling all the refunds and cancellations. But the problem is, they don't want to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So every time a cancellation request came in, whatever, or if it wasn't canceled in time, it'd rebill. Then you have to refund or charge back, and it was just a nightmare. And it was stressing out his team and my team. And he just canceled the whole project, and he bought GetClients.com. So he went and focused on that. And years later, it was like almost 2 years later, I still had all the swag because I spoke at his event in AdCon in 2018 at AdCon Live. I was teaching people how to brand themselves on LinkedIn. And what ended up happening was I grabbed a bunch of hats and shirts, swag. I was like, yeah, well, he had leftovers. I'm like, dude, this is so cool. I love the brand. I'll just take this. And it felt kind of, because I helped him, you know, it was kind of something I helped him with as well. From the support side, it kind of felt like, it's a story I could tell. And one day I'm in a Camaro. At the time, I had a black convertible Camaro. And my son and I were both wearing the shirts and the hats. We were swagged out. And I took a picture, a selfie, and I sent it to Dan. And I said, Dan, what did you ever do with this brand? He goes, I still have it. I was like, would you be willing to sell it to me? He was like, what would you pay for it? And we worked out some numbers. And actually, I feel like I got a really good deal. So, Dan, thanks for being a champion. And the only problem is that he had all these boxes of swag in his garage. He had hats, shirts, binders, boxes, like you couldn't imagine. He had a huge garage, and two sides of his garage was all Tupperware. Those giant plastic bins. What do you call those? Like not Tupperware, but like the giant plastic bins full in his garage. And he's like, okay, here's the deal. I'll sell it to you for this price, but you got to come and get all this crap out of my garage. So I flew in there with my copywriter, and we made a 3.5 day road trip from Tampa, Florida to California. It was 3.5 days. And we only slept one time.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we just went and trucked on, switching off, and we were also working on copy for my branding website, brandedmedia.io. And so it made a really good story. And again, it's who you know. So the Savage
Yeah,
Marketer brand has been mine since 2019.
that's
And,
awesome.
I've always kind of felt like I was a savage marketer anyway. And so I've turned it into my podcast. So my Savage Marketer brand is all about just like not settling for being average.
I love it. I love it.
Whew.
So one of the themes that I've been noticing that you say a lot is kind of talking about like the who, and I'm curious of how that relates to your passion for leverage, right? Whether it's through AI or whether it's through, staffing and just allowing other people to
Mhm.
take the stress off of the things that just frankly they're probably way better at than you anyway. So what was kind of that turning point for you where you were like, was it you used it for yourself first and you saw how much it benefited
Yeah.
you, or what was kind of that process of really this theme of leverage being so massive in your life?
So as an IT project manager, a lot of what we had to do every day was documentation. It wasn't managing projects, it was just documentation. And I hated doing it. Like 60% of a project was
Yep.
just documentation and as built. Like once you build
Yeah.
something, here's what we built it. as.
Yeah.
So I hired a guy for $5 an hour back when Fiverr was still $5. All right. And he said that he was a certified, he had gone through what's called the PMI Project Management Institute. He was a certified project manager, which is mind blowing because you have to do 4,000 hours of service to get that. And he said that he could do Microsoft projects, which was my bane of existence. Okay. I hate projects. I hate Microsoft Projects app. It's like you have to do calculations of the critical timeline and put all the things in there and all that. So I had this huge project I was working on, and I knew it would take me weeks to do this, and it would take dozens of hours of time. And I hated doing it, first off. And, not only the time, but the disdain for the act. And I just said, you know what? For $5 an hour, what can it hurt? You know? So I sent him over the project details, and lo and behold, not even 2 days later, it was done, and it only took him like 15 hours to do in total. And I was like, wow, this is nuts. And the crazy part was when it came back, it was beautiful spreadsheet with like color coded and I mean stuff I've never done. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even able to turn that in because there's no way my boss would believe that I was done with that and that I did it
Oh my
myself
gosh.
in a couple
Wow.
days. So I ended up, just like a couple weeks later, like telling my boss, yeah, I'm almost done with that documentation. I'm doing something different, by the way. I really want to step up the game. So just letting if you don't like it, let me know, but I'm going to try something different. And then I finally turned it in, and my boss was like, whoa, that is cool.
Wow.
My other boss was like, whoa, there's no way we're going to get the other PMs to do this. And I actually got a lot of resentment from people because I raised the bar.
Wow.
Craziest part was I didn't do the work and I raised the bar, and it cost me like what, $40 or something like that.
Oh
You know what I'm saying?
my
Or let's say it's
gosh.
$80. I don't know what the number is. 20 times 5. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So let's just say $100 or less, right? So the craziest part is that when I kind of just got obsessed, and I was like, well, what are the other things that I could have someone do for me? So I've always had, since I was a kid, I've always had a side business building websites for businesses since I was
Hmm.
a kid. I'm not even kidding you. At 12 years old, I had Dreamweaver. All right. So I'm building websites, and I thought, man, what if I could find someone to do websites for me? And I did. I found someone who could build websites and designers and stuff. And I
Hmm.
started doing it locally for my friends and, acquaintances because I'm always known as the web guy.
Yeah.
And I started making a little side hustle. And then I started thinking, man, what else could we do? What do businesses need? Well, I built the website for them. Now they need somebody on social media to promote the website, right?
Hmm.
So then I started hiring social media assistant. And then I went on Fiverr myself. And I actually, back in 2013, I created an account on Fiverr and sold a gig to help people get real followers on Twitter. And it only took 10 minutes. I literally had a virtual assistant go into someone's Twitter account. They gave us their username and password, and we would find people that would be ideal targets for them, looking at the right hashtags, and we would just like and reply to some of their tweets, and then they would follow us back organically. That's all it took, 10 minutes. And I would get people like 5, 10 followers, right? And
Hmm.
for $5, real followers.
Yep.
And actually, someone you might even know, her name is Julia McCoy. She's the president of Content at Scale, but at the time she owned a company called Express Writers. She was like in shock when she bought the gig from me and was like, "This is so good. Can I buy like 20 bulk gigs and you just do it for like 20 days?" And we're like, "Sure." And then the gig got featured on Fiverr as one of the featured gigs. And this is before they had like how many they could order in a queue or go on vacation or whatever. And we had so many orders come in at the same time that it broke. And I had to hire more people to help doing it. So I actually grew my business by accident, by demand. So by 2016, I already had 20 people working for me and still had a full time job. And that's when I started realizing that I was onto something.
Wow.
So when I left my job in 2016, I fell flat on my face because making 150K W2 is a lot different than making 150K entrepreneur, right? Where you have to
Yeah.
hire people. It takes money to make money.
Yep.
So I ended up taking my whole family, which was me and my 3-year-old at the time. He's 10 now. That was 7 years ago. Flew to the Philippines, set up camp there for an entire month, and built out the team in my office right there in 2016. So that's how it happened. That's my origin story.
I love it. One of the things I'm curious about too is what have you found like is the tipping point of when people need to start hiring other team members and like I call them specialists, right? So it's a mindset shift certainly of like, hey, this person is genuinely better and faster at this, kind of like you experienced. But is there a dollar amount when people should start doing that? And then what are typically like, let's say the top 5 or the top 10 tasks that you have found entrepreneurs or whoever that you work with should offload and in what order?
It's funny because the answer to that question this year is a lot different than it was last year.
Hmm.
Last year, I would have said hire someone right away because you're going to get someone to work with you, especially if you hire a Filipino virtual assistant, which, I'm a little biased because I have a Filipino virtual assistant company, but they're so loyal and their work ethic is so good. Unlike, I hate to say it, but unlike the Western world, where they can hardly work for you for 6 months without finding something else, you know, and really a job in America, like it's like people are allergic to work, but especially remotely, and usually when people say that they're a virtual assistant, they're usually an entrepreneur. They're usually working for multiple people, right? So like that's number one rule I found is not to hire an actual virtual assistant. But I'll talk about that later. But as far as roles go, I would say hire immediately. But now with I would say hit the pause button. And I would say think about training an AI on your business to do a lot of the things that you might hire someone to do. Like, for example, create social media content. AI can do that now really well. Create email newsletters can do that. Sales proposals can do that. AI can do a lot of different things if you train it correctly. Okay. Which is why, by the way, not to pitch, but I created something called the AI persona method, which is how to create a very human like AI persona that actually functions in specific roles in your business. So you can have a marketing person, you could have a sales proposal person, you can have a social media content strategist, right?
Hmm.
So, like, you can basically plug in AI personalities, personas into your business to do these roles.
Hmm.
So I guess the answer is mixed. If you're already buried and you don't have time to like learn new technology and stuff, I would probably hire an AI consultant to come into your business and say, "Hey, let's set up these systems and stuff in your business to use AI," and then you could have a virtual assistant run them. I'm going to give you a perfect case study. My own assistant, her name's Jacqueline. My assistant Jacqueline has never written an email in her life. She's never written a newsletter. She doesn't know anything about marketing. She doesn't know anything about sales. I created what I call the Savage Marketer AI persona. And the Savage Marketer writes social media content. It knows my posts. I've uploaded dozens of my own social media content so it knows my writing style. Okay. And all she has to do is log in using my AI persona and ask it to write an email for something or write a newsletter. She's written over 70 email newsletters to my email list using my AI persona that sounds like me. People would never even know that it's not me. So that's what I would say. I would say start by setting up an AI and training it with your business and then hire a VA to run it all.
I love that. Okay, so I think immediately when you say that, everyone's like, cool, never heard of that before, or cool, that sounds awesome. But then the second emotion is like, frick, I'm super overwhelmed. Like, how do we even do that? Is it going to cost, $80,000 to implement this? I
Here's
think,
here's the
yeah, go
coolest
ahead.
part. Here's the coolest part. ChatGPT is free. You can go to
That's what I was
chat.
gonna ask.
Yeah, you can
Is
go
it
to
just
chat.
ChatGPT or using like are you bootstrapping 5 different softwares?
I'm showing people how to do this for free. I'm showing people how to do this
Mm,
for free using the free version of ChatGPT. Just go to chat.openai.com. You can literally start training your AI to talk like you immediately. Even the free version 3.5 is really powerful. 4.0 is better, but
yeah.
3.5 is still better than like 75 to 80% of the marketers on this planet. Right? So,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I'm a really good copywriter. I know that you know that. My posts, I go viral. I've gone viral on literally almost every platform. I've gone viral on
Yeah.
TikTok. I've gone viral on Facebook. I've gone viral on Instagram. I've gone viral, LinkedIn. I've gone viral on almost anything because of the power of copywriting and storytelling. And I've been able to train my AI for free how to use my own copywriting style called the clear copywriting method. And it basically is on 5 different things. If you want to start making attention, if you want to start getting attention and go viral, the first thing you have to think about is piquing people's curiosity. That's what clear stands for. C is for curiosity. L is for leading them in. Why should they keep reading, or why should they keep watching the content you're putting out there? And the third is E, emotion. You want to make sure that your audience is emotionally invested in your story. I have people that come up to me at random events and give me hugs like they know me. I don't know them, but they've been emotionally involved in my story, so they know. It's like, oh hey, how's your son? Oh hey, how's the problem with your throat, man? Like the things that I'm talking about on Facebook, or hey, did you ever sell that car you were trying, like people always will bring up stuff that I'm talking about online.
Hmm.
So emotion, and then analyze. A is analyze. You want to analyze. You want to put your own opinions out there. This is where you build your own authority, your brand authority, by putting your own spin on things and your own opinions, right? You're analyzing a situation. And the last part that people always do wrong is the number one goal of every single piece of content that you put out there is to get a reaction. Whether it's a good reaction or bad reaction, I'm kind of polarizing. I don't care. If you disagree with me,
Same.
great. You agree with me, great. The point is, you're probably going to tell me about it. That's the point. So I want to use my content to create conversations. So when you use the AI to really understand how you do marketing, right? If you go into ChatGPT and say, write a Facebook post about the power of sales, it's going to look like crap.
Yeah.
But if you have an AI persona that knows Megan Rhodes's sales blueprint, knows about you, knows your history as a pageant queen, knows about the different stories in your life, you can preload it with you, your personality, your personal touch. And then you can tell it the same exact thing. And it's going to blow your mind how authentic and real these stories are going to be, and usually written better than you can yourself.
Yeah. That's what's crazy. And I'm sure you can teach it copywriting frameworks. You can teach, I've done that a few times with ChatGPT, like just teaching even about buyers, desires and just kind of how psychology works and those
Yep.
types of things. It really is addicting. And I think for anybody listening, I'm sure that could be, like I said, slightly overwhelming to some people. But I think the first step is just like log in and start playing around and just see what this thing can actually do, or watch some videos, go follow
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, like what's funny, you were talking about 70 emails. When I first got on your email list, I don't know, I think I resubscribed when you came out with some freebie, I don't know, probably 6 months ago or something, maybe
Yeah.
around Christmas.
Yeah.
And I remember I would read all of your emails because the headline was really compelling and I would like actually read your emails, right? And like literally I subscribe to emails just so I can study copy because I'm a freak and a nerd about it. So my VA siphons them all into this Megan read later. And with your emails, I was like, wait, I actually want to read these because I was like curious about what you were doing. And of course, AI is so cutting edge right now too. Like, it is very ahead of the ball in terms of it's by no means the societal norm yet. But I guess what would be your encouragement to people? Would it just be getting your freebies out there? Where can people kind of take a first step with you if they do want to start learning from you and they think that this could be a good thing for their
You
business?
know what? I haven't even put this out there yet, but I actually have 100 marketing prompts that they could use, and you guys can download it for free. I will give you a link after this that people can click on. But if you
Perfect.
if you just go to AIpersonamethod.com, you'll learn about the program. And the goal of the program is just to teach people how to create very human like, authentic AI that you can treat like people, like employees in your business. And you
Yeah.
can create anything. You can create sales copywriters, marketers, social media managers, sales proposal people, like all the different things that we wish, your own marketing intern, some my favorite is a copycat. I have a profile that literally just copies me. Like I uploaded all my social content, everything to it, so it knows how to write. And I'm at the point now to where I just write 3 or 4 sentences and I tell it to write the rest of the post. Isn't that nuts? So
Very nuts.
that's what I'm really excited about, and what most marketers should be scared about. Because I'm not trying to brag here, but I'm a really good copywriter, and my AI copywriter is probably about 85% of my own ability. But 85% of my own ability is probably better than 99% of the marketers out there.
Yeah. Heck
Um,
yeah.
and I'm
I
not
love
even
it.
trying to be like, egotistical, whatever. I'm just saying, like, most people suck at marketing. That's flat out. So, like,
Yep.
if I can train my AI to do better than 90% of marketers out there, like, think about the implications that does to those 90% of marketers out there.
Yeah, and it's a worthwhile skill. Part of being a great entrepreneur is constantly like perfecting your craft. And if you're going to say, great, I'm the sales queen, that's a pretty ballsy offer, right? Like I did that on purpose, but guess what? Like my favorite thing in the world on sales calls is when people come to me and they're like, I want to work with you because you had the balls to call yourself the sales queen. I'm like, great, that calls out my avatar. You know what I mean? And anybody else who's like, I can't believe that I'm like, you're not my audience. I don't really want to work with you anyway, right?
Mhm.
So I think that we owe it to ourselves to continue to recreate ourselves and become even better at our craft, because the world's going to continue to evolve and adapt. And if we can implement AI into even a small portion of what we can do, like minimally, it can save you time and effort, and stress and decision fatigue and a lot of these things, which, your ability to think and execute as a business owner is your most valuable asset.
Yeah.
So, and it's still so early in the game too. I agree with you. I think if we're talking about leverage, AI is definitely it. I have one more question I want to ask you before I kind of let you just kind of say whatever you want to say in the ending. And then if you have any other lead magnets or things you want to drop in the show notes, we can definitely do that. You said earlier that there's a difference between maybe what you'd call an EA and then a VA, because a lot of VAs are
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. So I want to
Yeah.
make sure you had a chance to circle back and close that loop for our audience. And then you can just kind of finish out with anything else that you feel like you didn't cover or that you want to share before we close out.
One of my favorite marketing strategies is called the open loop, which is making people have to sign up to learn more. But in this case, we're going to close the loop. Um, I'm just going to start out by saying I'm quite embarrassed that I didn't learn this sooner. But when I first started VA Staffer, the virtual assistant staffing company, I used to hire virtual assistants. I used to hire people that had skills on their resume, that knew how to do social media marketing, that knew how to do emails, how to use automation software, things that you would think your virtual assistant would do for you. And what I learned shocked me. Every single person with those skills was on Upwork, was on Fiverr, was on online jobs. And usually 3 to 6 months after I hired them, they would leave because they got another job. Or they would already be working with multiple clients, balancing and juggling, and they weren't committed and focused to my business. And as an entrepreneur, I want someone who works for me. I want someone who wakes up every day and their job is me. Now, that might sound a little selfish and egotistical, but at the end of the day, I'm waking up worried about me too. And if I'm paying your bills, I would like that. For me, I would love nothing more than the people wake up and say, how can I make Jeff's business better? How can I make Megan's business better? And not how can I make more money? Most virtual assistants are how can I get another client and make another $1,000 a month or whatever. Okay. So what I've learned is I don't hire VAs. I go to technical support call centers. I have a whole recruitment team that finds people that don't even know what a virtual assistant is. We want people that they've already reached an echelon in their lives where they've already moved up 2, 3, 4 times at a call center, technical support, working for a cool ass company like Shopify or Canva or Microsoft or Google or Uber. I've had really good luck, by the way, recruiting from Uber. you know, but anyway, they don't like me at Uber, I can tell you. But and then I train them how to become an executive assistant. We teach them really good skills. See, skills can be taught, Megan. Skills can be taught. But there's three qualities that we hire for that cannot be taught. One is adaptability. How good are they at learning new things? Okay, because everything evolves and adapts, especially as a virtual assistant. You need to learn, like AI wasn't even a thing until last year, right? Like mainstream application. Now it's a thing. I need to make sure that my people can adapt and learn new things. And thankfully, I've been to the Philippines 3 times in the past 6 months teaching my team AI, and they're mind blown and they're teaching me stuff now. All right. So adaptability, number one. Number two is work ethic. I want someone who's worked at a damn call center for like 2, 3 years and they've moved their way up and they're loyal and they're dedicated. The only reason I'm able to even able to recruit them is because I have the best offer ever. The best offer. The offer is, how'd you like to make 2 to 3 times more than you're making right now? And you get to work from home in your pajamas. Pretty good offer, right? So we train them on how to work from home because that's a whole new different skill set. Okay. And then the third thing is giving a damn. You need people that actually give a damn. And part of that is making sure that they wake up every day and they actually care about the job that they're doing and they're doing it for you. Because
Yeah.
one of the worst things that we can do, Megan, as an entrepreneur is to delegate things to someone else and give them a lot of things. And then they leave and it gets put back on our plate. Because
Yep.
guess what happens when we start taking things off our plate to someone else? What do we do as entrepreneurs? Do we enjoy walking around with an empty plate? Hell no. We
Mhm.
find more stuff to put on it, right?
Yep.
So then when that person leaves, now we have two plates up on top of each other. We're at like a golden corral buffet, and it's not
Yep.
pretty. All right.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
that's the tip. That's the tip is that you
I
just
love it.
don't hire people that are looking for a job.
Yep. Yeah. 100% agree with all of that. 100% agree. Okay, last thing, any parting words, anything that you feel like we didn't get to, closing statement, and then any lead magnets that you want to share, other kind of freebies that you think can kind of get people on their way of branding, AI, leverage, all that stuff.
You know what? I just want to leave with a value bomb. And I don't really want to pitch anything, but if you do want to contact me, Megan will have the information. Every business, every industry is already impacted by AI, whether they know it or not. Microsoft is integrating AI into everything. Outlook, Microsoft Word, Google Bard is being integrated into Google Doc, Google Chrome, Bing browser, ChatGPT in the browser.
Hmm.
Uh, Adobe Photoshop, generative fill. You can give it a photo of you and tell it to change the background. You can put a photo of you and tell it to change it to you wearing a suit and a tuxedo. It will do all that now. AI is changing everything. AI
Wow.
is doing so many different things, and so many businesses are struggling on integrating and bringing and using AI. They don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. They don't know who they can trust. And you guys, being good at sales and learning everything that you know from Megan, are very good at positioning yourself as an authority and expert that people can trust. So
Mhm.
I actually would like to end with offering you guys the ability to become, or just planting the seed that it might be a smart play. If you're already a coach or consultant or a digital marketer, you might actually want to add AI consulting into what you're doing. It's
Mm.
the easiest thing to sell because every
Mm.
business needs it and they don't know who to go to. And just in the past 60 days or so, I've made about $120,000 in additional revenue just teaching business owners how to use AI. And it's going to be something that is not going away, and mass adoption is coming. OpenAI had the record for the fastest signups of all time. I think it was, I don't remember how many. It went to 100 million users. It's the fastest uh, online company or company in general to hit 100 million users. OpenAI, and it beat the record by a lot. So I would just put that out there, plant the seed that you might want to get on top of this new technology. And people need people like us that can lead the way, show them how to use it. And by the way, it's so easy. 60, 90 minutes, you can learn how to do it. It's not overwhelming. You just need to have a step by step process to go through, same step by step process that you have them go through to create human like AI personas in their business. Easy.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for being on the
Thank
episode
you.
today. This was awesome. I learned things. I know everybody else is going to learn some things. It's a pleasure to finally have a real conversation. And with that, everybody, we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Megan.